Hi guys, Artiar here. So matrix effect are one of the most important ways to actually boost your DPS power in Etheria Restart. But which one actually boosts your DPS the most? Like what kind of combination, what kind of effect that actually make your DPS does the most DPS output? So in this video here, I'll be walking through the top offense matrix effect combo that can actually help your team hit way harder, whether you're just doing burst nukes or sustained damage. So first of all, you're going to understand that about the matrix effect, that's going to have 12 set and 8 set. So for example, Momentum and Keeneye here, in order to fully utilize the effect they are able to bring, for example, the special effect here, the first 3 interns damage increased by how many percentage, all this thing, you need 12 matrix effect, which means if every single module piece here you are having is 3 module effect, then you need a total of 4. Right, so let's take my yellow one for example. If I want to activate the Keeneye here, I need a total of 12. And then if I have everything at 3 matrix effect, I need a total of 3 to 4. Depends on your shell. But most of the time, when we are pairing the module set, the shell we're gonna find is basically the pairing system one as well. So let's say my revelation here have Furyedge and Keeneye, so they already help me fulfill 3 here. So I only need another 9 for Keeneye and another 6 for Furyedge. So another 6 here, we have 2 set of Furyedge, then another 3 set of Keeneye. So basically, if you want to run another 12 piece set here, which means you're gonna sacrifice the special set, the special matrix effect, which you don't really want to sacrifice it. So most of the time, and I will say every time, if you are already at the position of you are able to grind the matrix 3 matrix effect set, then you kind of want to go for 8 and 12. This is for sure. And then the other 6 is for the special sets, unless you don't care about the special set. So let's say you're currently the revelation here still can't get the Furyedge, then you can temporarily go for 12, or else you're gonna go for 8, 12 and 6. So this is the base concept of the matrix effect. So among the matrix effect, now let's go through with the 8 set effect first. So the 8 set effect here, we can actually go for Onslaught. For 8 set, you can give us attack plus 25%. But most of the time, when you're going for 8 set, Harvest and Furyedge gives you a lot more value. So in terms of Onslaught, so let's say you go for 8 set of Onslaught, it only gives you 25% bonus increase, while Harvest here already give you 10% from the 4 set effect, which means you on Onslaught it only gives you additional 15% attack, while Harvest and Furyedge give you additional effect. So stats and effect are the different things. Stats are just some pure base stat for the calculation. But the most calculation part is actually the special calculation, something like Harvest. So when attacking, if the target HP is above 50%, you ignore 30% of the defense. Something like this gives a lot more value than the attack percentage. So in terms of 8 set, you want to go for Harvest or Furyedge. Then for Furyedge here, it gives you when an Animus lands a crit, the damage result that hit increased by additional 12%. So in terms of DPS output for burst damage wise, Harvest give the most value because if the target's HP is above 50%, which means most of the time when the boss is like 100% HP, then you want to nuke down the boss HP very fast. Harvest gives the most value because you can ignore 30% of the defense, and this one here also bring a very strong value against those those bosses that can't get debuff, for example Sharon. So if you're fighting a unit like Sharon that cannot apply debuff, which means you cannot apply defend down on Sharon, this Harvest here give you another 30% defense ignore, brings a lot of value. So I would say Harvest actually brings the most value in terms of burst damage, because this effect here is very good, but the condition is only when the target HP is above 50%. When the target HP is below than 50%, then you can't really trigger this anymore. The value just wear off. So you kind of want the unit that can do burst damage at the first hit, that can reduce down to, let's say, instantly go down to 30% left, so left a little bit more HP. Then Harvest brings the most value, or else it's gonna be Furyedge. Furyedge here, as long as you crit, the damage result increased by another 12%. Very easy to understand. As long as you crit, you do additional damage. So in terms of consistently, if you want the damage output to have consistent among the whole battle, Furyedge brings the more value. So in terms of consistent damage, Furyedge gives more. In terms of burst damage, Harvest gives more. So pick your own module effect you already want to go for. Most of the time, I prefer Harvest. For example, when I'm building for my dating, I'm going for Harvest because I know that when I'm using dating, I want Dating to do burst damage. It's not going to be a consistent damage, because consistent I have better unit, for example like Rosa, for example like Geli, but in terms of burst damage, Harvest on Dating is better. Then if you want consistent damage, you go for Furyedge. Then the other one is going to be Momentum and Keeneye. These are the 12 set effect. So the 12 set effect here, who does the most damage is actually Momentum. But Momentum, even though Momentum gives you the most damage, but Momentum have a very strict condition, which is debuff or control effect. But technically control effect is also a debuff, so it's just how many red color debuff icon on the target. Technically, Momentum brings you the most DPS output, because up to 36%. 36% here is very high. For example, if you're building fighting a boss content like Nico Nana, for example, the boss that can get debuff, and you can actually apply a lot of debuff on the boss. If you can debuff 6 debuff minimum, then Momentum is actually the best DPS set in the game. But you're gonna know that not every single boss can get debuff, and not every single time you can maintain 6 debuff. Okay, so the condition for Momentum is actually pretty requires some tuning for your team. You gotta know your team. Your team can actually land 6 kind of different debuff. For example, speed down, attack down, defend down, resist down. Here is 4. And then let's say you have like, for example, like claws hack in, for example, and other debuff like the Rosa debuff. Then you have to accumulate until 6 debuff, then Momentum with the best DPS output. Or else the best DPS output and the most consistent wise is actually Keeneye. Because Keeneye here, you don't really need a condition to trigger Keeneye. As long as you're doing damage, then your first 3 damage instant will increase by 25%, 15%, and 5%. So what does this mean? For example, you're playing Rosa. So Rosa is going to do 3 damage. The first damage from Rosa is going to be 25%. Then the second damage from Rosa is increased by 15%. Then the third damage increased by 5%. So in terms of Keeneye, you don't really want to put in on a multi-hitter. You want to put in on the damage dealer that doesn't do too much of a multi-hit. You only want to surround around like the first hit and the second hit. So for example, Dating, the first hit here is going to do the burst damage from S3, increased by 25%, and then another damage from the S1 follow-up will do 15%. So you don't really get nerfed by until like the 5% part. So in terms of Keeneye, you want to go for the unit DPS that doesn't really do too much of a multi-hit. And in terms of multi-hit, Momentum brings more value, which means every single hit, let's say Rosa for example, 3 hits. Every 3 hits here will get benefit by 36%. Then multi-hit here, Momentum brings the most value. But again, you're gonna need debuff. Okay, so you're gonna need the amount of debuff to actually make Momentum to have the highest value, or else Keeneye give you the most consistent value. Then for the 6-piece special set, we have Furyedge here, increased crit rate and crit damage. Then we have another one, special one is gonna be the speed one, the Swiftraid here. So most of the time, in terms of DPS, you're gonna build them in Furyedge. Furyedge gives you the most value in terms of DPS. Then what kind of situation you are going for Swiftraid? Only most of the time, it's gonna be PvP. Because in PvP here, let's say both of you are fighting in speed, but both of you have Lily, then your Lily AP turn meter push the DPS, and then is around turn meter like 80%. Then while enemy's DPS is actually going with Swiftraid, and then the Lily turn meter push their DPS can actually outspeed you because their DPS is slightly faster speed. So in terms of 6P set, most of the PvE situation, you are going for Furyedge. This is the best in slot for DPS because additional crit rate, additional crit damage makes your substats easier. You don't really need to focus too much of a crit rate. You can focus more on attack and crit damage. Then this one here, I will suggest more about PvP, unless the PvE actually requires your DPS a lot more faster, but most of the time you don't really need it. So most of the time you're going for Furyedge. So these are the basic DPS matrix effect combination. So let's say Dating, for example, you know that Dating is gonna do burst damage, and Dating gonna passively lock the target to do more damage, right? So most of the combination you will see on Dating is either Harvest Keeneye or Furyedge Keeneye, because you know it's gonna be a burst damage. Then for Rosa, for example, you will see most of the time it's gonna be Momentum. Then either Onslaught, Harvest, or Furyedge. Either they want to go for additional attack, 25%, or they are going for Harvest or Furyedge. But most of the time you will see Furyedge and momentum, not really Harvest and momentum. It's because Rosa is a consistent damage dealer, right? So you don't really rely on the first 50% above HP to trigger the ignore defense. Most of the time you want consistent damage on Rosa, then mostly it's going to be Furyedge momentum. So if you know the base concept of this matrix effect, you know that what kind of Animus you're going to build. Then another special effect is going to be Battle Wheel. Another effect that people will actually build for is Battle Wheel. So Battle Wheel is very situational and very rarely used in most of the time, unless the S1 actually benefit you a lot, or that unit actually casts a lot of S1. For example, Fungus. Fungus give you assist damage from the S1. For example, Yeli, every time the assist have a chance to trigger another battle wheel. For example, Rosa, every time Rosa assists with her S1 can trigger another battle wheel 20% follow up damage, basically a free S1. So very situational, depends on that Animus. Is it gonna assist a lot with the S1? If yes, then battle wheel is worth a try, or else battle wheel is not worth a try. So let me show you some example on the enemies combination. Alright, so let's take Ditting for example. So this is the current Ditting I'm going for. Then the shell is White Fang, Harvest, Keeneye, and Furyedge. I roll a lot into Ditting here, so basically a very max stack as well. Then the module here, Harvest, 8 stack effect, and then I have Keeneye here and Furyedge. So this is a very common DPS set for Ditting. So Ditting here can instantly ignore 30% of the enemy defense, and also the passive here will further increase his damage, and then his S3 here will do one very big damage, 450%, and then another S1 damage here. So your module here going for Keeneye, the 25% attack damage can also boost your S3, so your 450% damage multiplier here will get boosted by the passive, and then another 25% damage boost from the Keeneye, and also Harvest here give you 30% defense ignore, and most of the time when Ditting take his action to cast the first S3, it will be the target HP above than 50%, so you can apply the maximum output from the first Ditting DPS output, and this is most of the time you will see players that actually play Ditting, they are most of the time running Harvest and Keeneye. So for example, let's take Nico Nana for example. If you look at the clear time, for example, this guy here, 16 seconds, he's good running with Harvest and Keeneye, because this is kind of like the most maximum DPS output you can actually go for. You actually go for very high crit rate for the maximum passive convert as well. And like Ditting, he is also running for Harvest, Keeneye, Furyedge. This is kind of like the best DPS output for Ditting in terms of combination. Not saying that other combination is not good, just that most of the time Harvest, Keeneye combination is a lot more better in terms of burst damage output. Like I mentioned, Harvest, Keeneye is a very good burst damage output for the 12th set as well for the Keeneye, because you can't really run momentum if your team doesn't apply a lot of debuff. And for example, like Yeli here, I'm going for Furyedge and Keeneye. So why am I not going for Harvest and Keeneye? Because Yeli, her own kit here already have defend down. So since I already can reduce the enemy defend by 60%, so I don't really need the additional 30% damage ignore. I can instantly just go for more damage boost for Yeli. So I'm going for Furyedge and Keeneye. So Keeneye here, the first peel from Yeli is going to be 25% increase, another peel is going to be 15%, and if you're lucky you're going to trigger like the third peel, fourth peel from the S1, then lower down damage is totally fine. But because most of the time you trigger the first two hit, which is 25% and 15%, then it's going for Furyedge and Furyedge, because you don't really need a lot of speed on Yeli. So this is how I built Yeli. Then for Rosa for example, right, this is not really an optimized Rosa build, because something is not level up yet. I can't really find a very good substats at the moment, so I'm just leaving it for now. So Rosa here, I'm going for Furyedge, Momentum, and Swiftraid. So why am I not going for Furyedge? Is because the current revelation I built is with Swiftraid. I can't really find a the Furyedge currently, so I'm going for Swiftraid. But Swiftraid is not bad for Rosa as well, because if Rosa have faster speed, so Rosa can faster apply the debuff on the target. So the faster the target have the Blade Heart Bloom debuff, so Rosa can assist more through the debuff, right? So I'm going for Furyedge, because you want Rosa to always have the crit. Every time when you crit, you do additional damage. And Momentum here is the best, because Rosa herself already can apply two debuff. One is speed down, one is going to be the Blade Heart Bloom. So it's already 2 debuff here. Then your teammate, as long as your teammate can apply, like let's say defend down, can apply attack down, resist down, and probably like vulnerable, and then you can already accumulate 6 debuff very easily. And the moment you actually use Rosa in the bossing content, you're gonna ensure that the boss can actually get debuff already, because if you can't debuff the boss, then Rosa doesn't bring any value, because you need Rosa to apply the Blade Heart Bloom, right? So most of the time when you're building Rosa and you're using Rosa in a team, it will the enemy is going to have a lot of debuff anyway, so momentum is the best in slot for Rosa. But the Fury here can actually change into Battle Wheel if you really want, so every time Rosa S1, there's another chance for you to S1. So why am I not going for Battle Wheel? It's just because the current shell I'm using for Revelation is Furyedge. Okay, but I do plan to build Battle Wheel on Rosa as well, but not at the moment. Okay, but you can change Furyedge into Battle Wheel, but momentum in my opinion is the best in slot for Rosa, because most of the time when you're using Rosa, the enemy is going to be full of debuff, right? Then let's say another character like Fungus, for example. I'm actually going for Battle Wheel and Keeneye and Swiftraid, but this build here is for the Cage Rumble Nico Nana. So why at that time I actually build Fungus into like this is because when in the Cage Rumble, I'm actually pairing Fungus and Rosa into a debuff combination, so I can actually easily debuff the enemy Nico Nana easily, because every time Fungus trigger the assist S1, 50% chance to assist, right? So if Fungus assists with the S1, then you have another 20% chance to trigger another S1 to do damage, and another chance to apply DOT to the boss. So I'm going Fungus with Battle Wheel. Ideally here the Keeneye should be changed into momentum, but the moment when I'm using Golden Lion, I don't have momentum on the second module, so I'm going for Battle Wheel, Keeneye, and Swiftraid. Ideally you want to go for Battle Wheel, momentum, and Furyedge, but Swiftraid is also okay enough, because I don't really have other good Furyedge currently, because they are all kind of used for the other DPS unit, right? So something like Fungus can also fully utilize Battle Wheel as well, so every time Fungus assists with the passive, so S1 and then another 20% chance to cast another S1, so I can apply 2 DOT here, something like that. So that's a lot of combination. It's not totally a fixed combination for the DPS. It really depends on your playstyle. So that's my breakdown for the best metric effect combination you can actually use to boost your DPS. So whether you are building for burst damage or consistent amount of damage, getting the right combination actually makes a huge difference. So the metric effect actually plays a very big role. Okay, so not just the unit, but the effect themselves is actually very important. So if this helps, consider dropping a like and let me know in a comment which metric combo you're actually using currently. What is your favorite combination? And stay tuned for the support metric effect video as well. It's actually coming up soon. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and see you guys in the next one. Bye bye. Special thanks for the direct support on the YouTube membership. So for the benefactor of Artiar, which is Sky Elk, Trekcan, thank you so much for your support. And for the supporter or patron of Artiar, which is Louis Schneider, Agni, Wang Tamer, Ziggy, Kamaruki, Sunwaltz, Rimu, Chani, Antonio Winterspoon, Rocco Stenzions, thank you so much for your support. And also special thanks to the Super Tanks MVP, HMZ Rings, thank you so much for your support. Special thanks for the direct support on the live stream super chat for the latest 10. Thank you so much for Code Wilderness, Calamity, Agni, Love Fatima, Fatima Little Underwear, Bloods, Riku Fred, Chani. Thank you so much for your support.